morning, or depending when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name's Ross, and I was always told how to voice radio. So today, I've got a very simple question for you. Why is Oranguru always good? Well, no, that's not strictly true. I suppose we've had 4 Oranguru revealed so far, and 2 of them were flat out phenomenal, and admittedly the other 2 weren't particularly great. The first one we had back in Sun and Moon had the amazing ability to let you draw until you had 3 cards in your hand. That was one of the good ones. And then we had the one in Ultra Prism, which has led to one of the most annoying decks we've seen in a very long time, because it lets you just constantly put 3 cards from your discard pile back under your deck, or on the bottom of your deck, so you can just constantly reuse super annoying cards like Crushing Hammer and Mars. Okay. Fine. We did then have the 2 really bad ones, a Psychic one, which did let you recover tools, but no one really cared, and the most recent one in Unified Minds, which could be nice as draw power and it's got a fun little Sage's Riddle attack, which has a lovely guessing game, but no. Well, seems like we're back to Oranguru being good, ladies and gentlemen. It's back to being good. Now, I should mention our translation here comes from the lovely Joe over at Cerebi.net/me, using Google Translate. And if we start off having a little bit of a look at the basics here, we see that we've got 120 HP. Well, of course we have 120 HP. We always have 120 HP. And we got a weakness to fighting, which is not terribly ideal, but again is largely expected. And we've got a retreat cost of 2, which is not a huge problem because we've got that new balloon card, the new tool that reduces your retreat cost by 2. And yay, that's going to help you retreat quite nicely. And being a colourless Pokemon means no resistance, you're hitting nothing for weakness, you don't get any extra tricks. You would get triple acceleration energy if you were an evolved Pokemon, but you're not, so you don't. Boo! The good news is we're back to Oranguru having a busted ability, so we don't really care. And what it says is that once during your turn, you may switch a card from your hand with the top card of your deck. This is good. Like, this is really nice. You get to take a card in your hand that you may or may not want and put it on top of your deck. And for a replacement, you pick up a card that was previously on the top of your deck. Well, I mean, look, at the basest form here, this can just let you pick up a card. This can just let you grab a card from your deck and essentially cross your fingers that it might be good. If you desperately need, let's go back to triple acceleration energy. If you desperately need triple acceleration energy right this second, and you don't have it in your hand, it might be on top of your deck. You never know. It's not the best use for it. But the fact of the matter is, this does give you an emergency, I can see the top card of my deck. There's a card in the Transformers trading card game, a Shockwave card. I know, right, we're getting a bit of Transformers on now. That lets you essentially consider the top card of your deck in your hand if it's a certain type of card. And it also lets you always look at the top card of your deck whenever you like. And it's essentially like having one more card in your hand. It gives you one more chance to have what you want. If you need a rare candy to get your stage 2 now, this might give you the rare candy. And the chances aren't great, but it's kind of like drawing a card. And look, Alolan Sandslash is quite nice because it lets you draw a card, but that's rotated out. Well, kind of, but Swordsbuck does literally the same thing. So drawing a card is alright. It's not amazing, but it's good. It gives you a little bit of an advantage. And alright, this does make you put a card from your hand on top of your deck, but it also lets you draw a card. But you can get a little bit more tricky than this. So let's say, for argument's sake, you've got a Crushing Hammer, but your opponent doesn't have any energy at the moment. Well, you might really want Crushing Hammer next turn, but this turn Crushing Hammer's a pointless card. So what you do is you put it on top of your deck, save it for next turn, grab another card, and then maybe you can play that other card. So now all of a sudden you've got one fewer card in your hand, which means that you can draw one extra card if you play something like a Lily, for instance. Maybe you're playing something like a Granbull deck, and you've got 2 basic energy in your hand. Granbull doesn't play any energy acceleration, and it's got an amazing attack that does 160 damage if you've got no cards in hand. So if you've got 2 basic energy in hand, that's a bad thing. So you put 1 basic energy from your hand on top of your deck, and alright, maybe you draw another unplayable card, second energy, second support, or whatever, but you've gone from a card that you definitely can't play, which means you're not using a big attack, to a card that you might be able to play. That's still quite nice, ladies and gentlemen. Now, the other thing to mention here, of course, is that I've then guaranteed myself an energy next turn, assuming my opponent doesn't play something like a reset stamp, which will rearrange my deck. It's very cool. Although one thing that's really fun with this, the IPOM that got one of them that came out in Cosmic Eclipse, it's got an ability that lets you put the top card of your opponent's deck on the bottom of their deck without looking at it. So there's going to be some great little mind games here if anyone actually plays IPOM, because if you put a card that you really want next turn on top of your deck, your opponent can use IPOM to put it on the bottom of your deck, but you can always just put a rubbish card on there to try and bait them. It's kind of fun and it kind of amuses me. The point here is that there are an awful lot of times and an awful lot of reasons why you might want to just draw a random card and put a card on top of your deck. But then, of course, we've got some really specific reasons why this would be amazing, and there's a couple of cards we've already seen from Sword and Shield that would use this nicely. So let's take Zacian V. Zacian V's got a phenomenal ability that does end your turn, but it's also phenomenal, so we forgive it. Once during your turn, you may look at the top 3 cards of your deck and attach any number of metal energy cards you find there to this Pokemon, and then put the other cards in your hand. Well, I explained before that with Zacian V, you need to hit 1 energy from this ability. Turn 1, you attach, use the ability to get the second energy, and then turn 2, you attach the third energy and attack. You need 1 energy off of this ability. So if you've got a metal energy in hand, you use Oranguru to put it on top of your deck, guarantee that you hit it with Zacian, and then you are definitely, especially if you go first, turn 1 going first, where you can't use a supporter and you can't attack, if you can get Zacian and Oranguru out, which will admittedly be more difficult without playing a supporter, you can guarantee yourself the turn 2 attack, as long as you've got 2 energy in hand. You need a little bit, but it can definitely work. It's raising the odds. Another one I showed you yesterday, I want to say, was Torkoal V. Torkoal V's got a really nice first attack. For 2 fire, 1 colourless energy, you do 90 damage base. And you discard the top card of your deck, but if it's a fire energy, you then do 180. So you really need to guarantee that the top card of your deck is a fire energy. Oh, look. This is where Oranguru comes in. And you've always got Giant Half to make sure you can find that energy. You've also got Fiery Flint and Fire Crystal. But they're item cards you may or may not have. Assuming your opponent doesn't replace your stadium, you play a Giant Half and it'll be there when you need it. This is a really, really nice ability. And it's not always going to be that useful, alright? It's not always going to be perfect. There are going to be plenty of times where you look at your deck and go, why would I ever need Oranguru? But then again, you could say that about the one from Ultra Prism. There are also going to be plenty of times where being able to put a card and guarantee you've got it next turn is great. Where drawing an extra card now off the top of your deck is great. Where drawing an extra card now that you might be able to play and then drawing an extra one off a Lily, essentially giving you an extra 2 cards, is great. And then you've got all the really specific ones like your Zacian V. I like this. Let's give it between 3 and 4 Wassies. We don't give half Wassies, that would be barbaric. Certain decks are going to absolutely adore this. Other decks aren't, and that's okay. But I think there are an awful lot of uses for this. But I'd like to know what you think. So let me know in the comment section. Go nuts, be nice. And then make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at TheWassie, and Twitch for some live action at twitch.tv/TheWassie. patreon.com/PTCGRadio. If you want to support the channel, get some bonus podcasts and all that good stuff, head on over to patreon.com/PTCGRadio, where you can do exactly that. And please do make sure you're checking out youtube.com/WassiePlays, where we talk about a whole bunch of cards and they don't have Pokemon in, and we're totally cool with it. But by far the most important thing, as always, look after yourselves till next time, would ya? Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio.